Master tenor sax player Pete Mills. I call him the Great Canadian. His years in Canada with his father Mighty Ernie, who exposed him to Duke Ellington, Count Basie, and all the great big bands, nurtured his love of jazz. A graduate of the University of North Texas and the Eastman School of Music, Pete is the most valuable tenor player in the Midwest. Listen to teacher and amazing player Pete Mills as he tells us about his years with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra.
I'm Pete Mills, and I play tenor saxophone in the Columbus Jazz Orchestra, and I've been in the band since 2006 as a full-time member. When I first set foot in Columbus, it was probably in the mid-1990s, and I'd heard about the band, and I heard the band play under Ray Eubank's direction at a summer concert somewhere. I think it might have been in Upper Arlington. And I remember enjoying the band immensely, and I went up and I talked to Michael Cox. He was the first guy that I spoke to, and I introduced myself to him. And he and I have been lifelong friends since that time. And I started subbing in the band when I moved back to Columbus in '97 on and off. And when there was an opportunity to audition for a full-time chair, I did, and I'm happy to be, I think, starting my 11th year as a full-time member. I started playing saxophone in grade 7. We call it grade 7 in Canada, not 7th grade. And I recall one of the strongest memories I have is on a Friday evening, likely when I was in grade 7, perhaps grade 8. My father took me to a club in Toronto called George's Spaghetti House. And they always had international members of the jazz community come in and play. And I heard the tenor saxophonist Scott Hamilton perform that night. And I was blown away. My first opportunity of hearing small group jazz. I'd heard big band music before. And I remember on Saturday morning, I took out the tenor that my folks had purchased for me, and it was a real beat-up old Czechoslovakian tenor student model. And I remember playing it for a couple hours in my bedroom. And for that moment in time, I was Scott Hamilton. And I guess that's kind of how things began. Playing in this band, getting an opportunity to play in a saxophone section 60-odd times a year, including our rehearsals, is a remarkable experience. As jazz musicians, as students, we play in big bands in high school, if you're fortunate, in college, if you're a music major often. And the opportunities to play in this format, this large ensemble format, as a professional in most cities in North America, and I'd say possibly in the world, it comes few and far between. And the fact that part of a good portion of my professional musical life, I have the opportunity to sit in a saxophone section with world-class musicians and perform for an enthusiastic audience. It's a real blessing. It's amazing. I love that opportunity, playing with Byron and the band. I feel grateful for that, for sure. I'd like to hang out with Coltrane. I don't know if I'd want to go like hang out with him and have a meal with him. I just kind of like to just be around and see what he did, see what he practiced. Just sit outside of the practice room and observe that. Circa 1958, I think that's about where the sound quality of his music there. And, you know, it would be fantastic to jettison back into the history and be at a club and hear Lester Young or Ben Webster, gosh. Or to hear the Ellington Band with Johnny Hodges. I've begun to find that writing, composing, and performing my music is one way that I get satisfaction within the jazz realm, and I think it also is a way that can make my unique statement in this music. So I'm trying to be more conscious about writing in addition to practicing. And then also trying to learn more about the history, because it's vast and beautiful, and there are giants who've created incredible sounds that we can learn from always. In the saxophone section, we have a good time during rehearsals. Sometimes to the detriment of moving forward in the music. We get carried away with certain things, and I think one of the big instigators is a couple of steps to my right. Mr. E.B. He's very funny. He's good at stirring the pot, and when he and Dr. Michael Cox get together, they can create some funny moments. So I like that. It's good. It keeps things lively. Keeps us on our toes. This will be my third summer directing the Columbus Community Jazz Band, and that's a big band full of professionals who have their business lives outside of music but who play, and many of them play at a real high level, and they're looking for opportunities for that, along with some advancing students and other community members who just want an opportunity to play. And it pairs up really nicely with my teaching during the school year. I teach at a liberal arts university just outside of Columbus called Denison University. And most of my students are folks who will be pursuing things other than music in their lives, but they're interested at this juncture to continue moving forward with music. So it's fun in the summers when I've directed the community band. I see physicians and accountants and some lawyers, business professionals, and I see them, and in the fall I'm teaching students, and I see in them the potential for stuff that we do in the academy to be there for them when they're out in the professional world. So it's a real kind of nice pairing of the two things. I'm looking forward to the new season. I can't wait to spend a week with Josh Redman. So there's always something that's happening upcoming with the CJO that's exciting for me as a musician. And I think it's true for the audience too.